Hey Brian, how you doing?
I'm good. How's everything with you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm in transit for this call.
No problem. I just made it home myself. I don't know. Sometimes I'm thinking, someone told me, "Hey, you don't have to do it every month," but I feel like I should.
Yeah, that's what they say, but certain committees definitely need to,
Especially
until
when
it's.
especially when you're not
Mhm.
getting help from certain individuals.
Okay, Brian, we're recording.
I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything at all. I said certain. I didn't say certain. But that was a good meeting today. What did you think about the city?
Yes, it was. It was good.
Hey, good evening, everyone. It's Calvis Mickelsteins here on the
Hey, what's up,
631
buddy?
number.
How you doing today?
Not bad, not bad. How are you doing?
Right. Hey, I saw the notes from the presentation you did. Do you mind? I know it was kind of last minute. Do you mind like kind of filling us in about it during the call?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. I don't have my laptop on me, but I do remember most of the details, so I can definitely brief everyone. Do you want me to talk about that now, or?
No. Wait, I'm gonna give it. We're early. It's actually six
Oh yeah.
15.
Oh, okay, cool. Right. Sorry, I thought I was late. Right on. Oh yeah, no, we still got time. Yeah, perfect. No problem. Yeah, I can definitely speak to that.
And thanks again for filling in on that day. Also,
Absolutely, no problem.
good evening. How you doing? Welcome, Karen.
Hi, good evening. I'm great, and I hope everybody's doing well.
Yes, we are just
Good
waiting for a few
evening.
more people to come in. Good evening, Garrett. How you doing? How's everything?
Hi.
Yeah, you're muted right now.
You guys hear me well?
Yep, we can hear you now.
You can hear me? Okay.
We have a few more minutes before we start. Welcome. Good evening, Sonia. How you doing? We're just going to give it a few more minutes before, so everyone can join the call. I just want to welcome everyone here that's now, and thank you for coming on to this meeting. So let's give us a few minutes, get a few more members on.
Guys.
Yeah. Hey, Drew. Just giving it 2 more minutes to have some more members.
Can you hear me now? Okay, great.
Yes, we can
Great.
hear you.
Thank you. I had to leave because I couldn't unmute.
Oh, okay.
I can. It's checking.
So I guess we're going to start. I gave it a little grace period. I just want to say good evening to everyone. Thank you for coming on to this Economic Development Committee meeting for Community Board 8. I have myself, I have Secretary Drew Gabriel, and I have Community Board Treasurer Yaya Raji on the line as well. So if you want to just everyone give a brief introduction of yourself, that's fine as well. We can start from Garrett.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am a resident of Prospect Heights. I'm a real estate broker as well. And I just take an interest in my neighborhood and wanted to be aware of what's happening. And I think it's important that we all participate in our environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Was that Karen?
Yes.
Okay. And Garrett, yourself?
I thought you said Garrett, but I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't look like a Karen, so no, yeah. Let me just let that joke stay there. So my name is Garrett Smith. I'm an organizer for the Center for Community Alternatives, also a proud father of two, and I'm also an organizer with the Clean Slate campaign, part of the Clean Slate New York Coalition and Steering Committee. Pass it back to you, the popcorn.
Next, I have Mark Thurton.
Hey, good evening. Mark Thurton. I'm part of Community Board 8. I'm also the chairperson for public safety. And I'm also involved with a couple other committees. But I'm definitely concerned about the economic growth of our community, which is extremely important. And it's also related to public safety. So I'm definitely here for whatever's needed to build our community and to build revenue into our area, because money is extremely important. Tax revenue is extremely important, and building growth is extremely important. So I'm here with you, Brian.
All right. And next up, I see on the screen we have Emma. Emma, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Hi, everyone. Emma Goodman. I'm an attorney at the Legal Aid Society, which has offices in Brooklyn and all the other boroughs. I am also on the Clean Slate New York Coalition, so I'm here today to talk about Clean Slate. And I'm very excited to have already heard somebody say that economic development and public safety go hand in hand, because I 100% agree. So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay. And we have next, I'm going to go straight to Sunny.
Thank you, Brian. Hi, my name is Sunny Joe. I'm also an attorney with the Legal Aid Society. I work with Emma and Garrett on the Clean Slate New York campaign. Just wanted to thank you for reaching out to us through Marva, who is a legal aid colleague of ours. And I don't know that she's here today. I know she's been doing a trial, which is really intense. So hopefully things are going well. But we're very happy to be here to talk to you all about Clean Slate.
Awesome. Excited. And Celine. Hey, Celine.
Hey, good evening. Sorry I chimed in like 3 minutes late. My name is Celine Rosado. I am a representative of Sweet Brooklyn Bar, located on the Notion Avenue corridor. in the CB8 district, and I sit on a few executive boards for other merchant organizations, the Black Restaurant Coalition and the Latin Restaurant Bar Lounge Association.
Thank you, Celine. Calvis, the 631 number.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Calvis Mickelstein, member of CBH. I also work in Dumbo for the local bid, so happy to be here.
All right. Let's see. Yaya.
Good evening. I am the treasurer of Community Board 8. I am also the CEO of Brooklyn Neighborhood Improvement Association. We have been around for almost 40 years, and we have developed affordable housing, over 500 of them in Central Brooklyn, in Crown Heights, Brownsville, and part of Bed-Stuy. So we are here for the economic development and for the growth of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Yaya. And my brother at arms, sergeant at arms, my cohort over there, Drew Gabriel.
Good evening, everybody. Drew Gabriel, Crown Heights resident. My day job, VP of Intergovernmental Affairs for Canva. Anything we can do for the community, especially in the economic development standpoint. Completely agree with you, Mark and Emma, as pertains to necessarily connecting the dots. I think there's so many more different opportunities from that standpoint, but it starts with economic development, and it starts with a willingness from that standpoint.
And I guess I'll say myself for last. My name is Brian Saunders, lifetime resident of Crown Heights, born and raised. Have a few hats in the neighborhood. I'm also the president of the Community 77 Precinct Community Council, the chair of this committee, and I'm basically members of other committee members of other SLA, and a former business owner myself. So I have a vested interest in this neighborhood. Would like to see, what we can do to make it grow with this pandemic and everything like that. And let's see, who's that coming in? But I was given this task to head up and be the chair of economic development because of my past experience as far as being a business owner, and my passion as far as helping the people in the community. I welcome everyone here. I know we just had someone that's joined in. I welcome everyone with open arms. Anything that can help our community grow as far as economic development encompasses so many different things as far as youth, housing, seniors, public safety. It's a catch-all for everything. I was just, I was listening to a audio book for this 1619, and it just listening to everything and just how everything just comes together, and being Black History Month, and just how the well-being, financial well-being of all the individuals involved in the community, how it helps as far as our health, our living. So that's what we're here to the table, and any advice or any way you can help, I'm here for it, and I appreciate that. My passion is with this. I'm not the most polished in it, but my heart's in it. So that's where I stand. And we just had someone with the 917 area code, last number 65. Would you like to introduce yourself to the group and let us know who you are?
Hi, this is Mary Woods. Hello?
Hey, Mary. It's nice for you to come on board. So, I know we have the group with Clean Slate, and also we had a meeting that last month that a few of us couldn't attend, so I had Calvis kind of represent us. Before I have Clean Slate on, Calvis, can you just give us a brief rundown of what the meeting was all about, if you don't mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I was on a webinar that was run by Canva on at the end of January, but it was about the New York State Small Business Recovery Grant. So this is it's a new grant program. It's not the resiliency grant, it's the recovery grant, which is an important distinction. It's currently in process. It's an $800 million grant, and they've given out about half of it already. and this is a grant, so it doesn't need to be paid back at all. It's free money. Basically, the eligibility requirements are pretty straightforward. You have to be a business from 2019, at least you have to have started in 2019, and you need to have made at least $25,000 in that year and under 2.5 million. So it's a pretty big group. You need to have shown a profit, at least $1. So like I said, you have to claim a profit. Your gross receipt has to be $25,000. And you have to show a loss of 25% or more in the pandemic. You can be a sole proprietor. That's totally fine. You can apply with your social. You can apply for multiple businesses if you own multiple businesses. But there are some implications if you already received other grants. So if you, I can't remember the specific numbers. I think for the PPP, if you got less than $250,000, you could still apply to this. And then the EIDL loans, I know there were two grants there. Sorry, not loans, but grants. And I can't recall, I think it was 10K and then 5K, but if you were under those numbers, you could still apply. The only real challenge was the Small Business Administration's Shuttered Venue Operator Grant. If you received anything from that program, you can't apply to this. But that's usually for more like restaurants that might do concerts and stuff like that. So I don't know if a lot of our local restaurants applied to that necessarily. It's pretty straightforward on the documentation. The website application is nysmallbusinessrecovery.com. It's a pretty quick application. You don't need a lot of stuff. You need just proof of your business organization, which could be your COI, your certificate of organization, your COO, business certificate, articles of incorporation. You need to prove where your business is located through a lease or utility bill or a bank statement. And then a proof of ownership, which is, a schedule of ownership if you have multiple owners, a W-9, or a proof of employees like an NYS 45 form. And I guess that's that. I know the amounts. I can't remember specifically the amounts. There were 3 tiers. I think it's like a 10%. So if you make under $50,000 in 2019, you'll get $5,000. If you made between $50,000 and $100,000, you get $10,000. And if you're between $100,000 and the cap, the 2.5 million, you'll get 10% of your earnings of your gross, not exceeding $50,000. So there's up to $50,000 of free money in this grant. And I recommend any business that was in place in 2019 and made at least $25,000 in gross sales to go for it.
Awesome.
Any questions?
Can you put the link on the chat for us to see, please?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Yaya? I didn't hear you.
I want you to put the link on the chat so we can.
Yes. Sorry, I'm on the phone. I don't have in the chat, but it's nysmallbusinessrecovery.com.
Okay.
And if you Google the New York Small Business Recovery Grant, it should be one of the first hits. Look for the big New York State logo, but nysmallbusinessrecovery.com, and that should get you there.
Okay.
And the deadline for this is April or May of 2022, but I know that there's a limited amount of funds, so better to apply sooner rather than later.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Celine, do you think I can help you, or you could try to reach the merchants on Nostrand Avenue and probably spread the word on this as well?
I just put the details in the search engine, and I just copy and pasted it to my partner just so that I can have it. And yeah, I'll share it amongst all of the business owners I know. I'm currently, like I mentioned prior, a part of the Black Restaurant Coalition, which encompasses a lot of the small businesses in my industry on Nostrand Avenue, which will get the link. And we will, after all of these calls, reinvigorate the Nostrand Avenue merchants. I think with a lot of these valuable calls with valuable contacts moving forward.
Awesome, thanks. Just, you know, you can let myself and Mark know what we can do to help, you know, and Drew as well, if you need any help with that as well. And we're gonna try to reach Franklin Avenue also. So guys, a clean slate. I know you're waiting. What I'll kind of tell you what the Economic Development Committee's been doing. We've been kind of hitting the different corridors in our community, trying to collect information and just making people aware, or the merchants and businesses aware of the community board, and walking down the corridors with like the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, and just trying to help and allow people to see that they're not alone in this time. And hey, from that, I'll open the floor to you, and you have this time to do your presentation. And I appreciate you taking the time to come and do this.
Thanks so much. Thanks again for having
I'm
us.
sorry, I was like,
Yeah, I was
pulling
taking
it up
to unmute.
here.
I was trying to screen share, so I'm going to try to screen share a fact sheet with you, just because I think maybe it would be helpful to see it. But I'm having trouble. Yeah, Sunny just put it in the chat. Maybe that's easier to just pull it up and look at it. But Sunny, Garrett, and I are all on the Clean Slate New York Coalition, which is a coalition of people from around the state that are working to get clean slate legislation, which is automatic sealing legislation, passed in Albany this year. And we think we have a really good shot at actually getting it passed. So we're going to talk just a little bit about kind of what the bill does and why it's important. But just kind of as a big picture, it's an automatic sealing bill. Sealing is important because people with criminal conviction records face lifelong barriers to reentry that go on way, way beyond when your sentences are served. So Sunny and I actually both work in a project that helps people apply to seal their convictions under the application-based process, and hardly anyone's eligible, and it's a very frustrating process. So we've been working very hard to get the law improved to make it accessible for people. But it's really important, especially for people from your community, for instance, who are over-policed and are much more likely to have conviction records because of how we know policing works in our communities. So the clean slate law would actually automatically seal almost everyone's records after they've been out of the system for a certain period of time, which would be a huge economic boom to the communities that have been most hardly hit by over-policing over the years. They actually, in this here, you know, we talk about it as an anti-poverty bill and an economic justice bill, and it really is, because we're giving people access to opportunities that really they should have anyway, but they're being denied that access. But it's also good for communities and good for businesses to have people making money, right? And people kind of stable and making money and having stable and affordable housing. But it's also good for business owners to be able to hire people and to be able to kind of have a broader labor market and not worry so much about what people's old conviction records are. So it's interesting, a lot of chambers of commerce, including the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, has officially signed on to the bill in support of the bill and has publicly supported it, because people are starting to recognize how much this is really an economic justice issue more than a criminal justice issue, because the criminal case is long gone. It's decades old sometimes, but people are still facing these barriers. So I don't think people really, if people want us to go into the details of the bill, we can, but I think it would be a lot more interesting to talk about kind of why clean slate is important and kind of where we're coming from and talk to people about that.
Before people ask any questions, can I just piggyback on what you're saying, Emma? Because like I just want to reiterate the point of that. With clean slate, it's really about self-empowerment. It's really about giving people that opportunity to really take their lives and move it forward and build on a foundation that they're already working on despite other hurdles. So like a good term that we use for this a lot is like the paper handcuffs, because it's societal type of barriers that are put onto people after finishing their time spent incarcerated, right? So they come back out in the community and they have these type of barriers in place that makes it even more difficult to make it, right? So they're trying to make it despite of these barriers. So when we're talking about this, and a lot of times when we talk about clean slate, we're talking about it for community, people in the community, people that's actually like living their lives, taking care of their families, doing everything they need to do despite of that. We're not talking about people that are willfully and intentionally trying to break the law, people that's, like, it's not like that. It's not a criminal thing. It's a community thing. We're the people that we're talking about are not criminals. The people that we're talking about are family members. They get up and go to work every day. They still trying to do advocacy work. Sometimes I was just talking to a guy that wanted to be at the Westchester County Board of Legislators when they was passing the clean slate resolution. And he said to me, he said, brother, I want to be there, but I also have bills to pay. So these type of people we're talking about people that actually get up and go to work, do what they need to do. And what Clean Slate is doing is really just offering that opportunity to take the weight off your back, to be able to really start at a level playing field where you can build your foundation and be a pillar for your family and your community. That's what it's really doing. And by doing that, you automatically have people that's, paying more into the workforce through, like by Social Security, taking a tax, like all of these different things, by people actually being able to contribute, but they also being able to move their life forward without having to jump over this hurdle or jump over that hurdle. They don't have to worry about whether they're qualified for a loan or not, whether they can qualify for this apartment or not, or this job, or go back to school. All of these things that they want to do, it'll seal it in a civil capacity for them to be able to move their lives forward. So, that's how I look at it. It's like a real practical chance at second chances.
I don't have a whole lot to add, but just in terms of the kind of numbers that we're talking about when we say this is an economic justice bill. Recently, there was a study that came out from the Brennan Center, and they have found that people who've been incarcerated lose an average of almost $500,000 in earnings over their lifetime, which, I think we understand as community members that if all the people, the 2.3 million New Yorkers who have convictions, if they were all able to get more stable, better paying jobs that provide, health care for their families and more stability for their community as a whole, I think just the economics part of it, I think we all could agree that that would be a huge boon to the New York economy, especially through COVID. I know economically, a lot of families have been suffering. New York State as a whole have been suffering. And I think, our communities of color have really taken a brunt of the hit. And I think a bill like this would really help the recovery effort. Just wanted to add that.
I have a question. Do you also work hand in hand with the Kings County DA reentry program also that they're doing?
Sorry,
Yeah,
can
one
you
more
please
time for
repeat?
me. Oh.
What?
I know the DA's office has a program called a reentry program. Is that like almost? I know you're clean the slate, but the DA's been the Kings County DA's office is saying that they have this new program called the Kings County Reentry Program for people that's coming back in, and to try to get them straightened out as well, as far as cleaning themselves up, trying to get the right get the jobs, and try to get them more focus of trying to get acclimated with being on the outside. So I was just wondering if you work hand in hand with them also as well.
We're not working with them on that. Eric Gonzalez, his office, he has signed on to letters publicly supporting Clean Slate. So he's supportive of Clean Slate too. So is Alvin Bragg. So there are also DAs that are supportive of it, which is interesting. They are trying to do work on reentry, and I think we need both, right? Like we need to make sure that people have the resources they need when they get out, and we need to make sure that the barriers are lifted so they can take advantage of the job training that they get. What's the point of doing a job training program if when you go to apply for that job, you can't get the license you need to do the job? We hear stories about that all the time. People who are incarcerated do training programs and do really well in those training programs. And then when they go to apply for a job, the exact same job, when they get out, they're told they can't be hired because of their record. You know, so it's like, what are we setting up people to do if we're saying, do this, come back, contribute to your community. We're going to give you the tools to be educated to be able to do that and do it well. But then we're not going to actually give you the job so that you can do what you're trained to do. You know, it's just, and then we're setting people up to fail. What are people supposed to do if they can't actually do what they were trained to do? So I think those things go hand in hand. And I appreciate that some DAs are recognizing the need for clean slate. And he's been one of them that's been good on that front.
But also just to reiterate, Emma's point too, like with the work that we do at the Center for Community Alternatives, a lion's share of our work is based around reentry and helping a person reintegrate back into the. All right, good job. She's proud. She's eating the apple. Yeah, that's her snack, apple. Try to stay healthy over here. Yep. Yeah, you got it. Man, I lost where I was at, but again, like the work that we do, man, she does it for me. She does it, man. I'm telling you. The work that we do at CCA is a lot around reentry and reintegration, and that's how we got to join in with the Clean Slate Coalition, because that's one of the, like what Emma and Sunny is mentioning, like the people that we're working with, peers that I'm connecting with, they all are saying the same things. It's like, well, what's the use of doing this service, or what's the use of this program, or what's the use of this? Then, because what it's saying, the goal is for me to be able to get a job, so I don't have to rely on SSI or SSDI or these other forms of assistance, so I can really be able to move how I want to move. If the time for me to actually do what the goal is, I can't do, so it's like, okay, how do we fix this part to actually open it up where people can, move forward and navigate through this system? Because that's one of the biggest things is you're going through the system, you're trying to figure it out, and then there's that roadblock, and it's like a dead end. So with Clean Slate, we look at it as this opening up that path or that opportunity for the 2.3 million New Yorkers. That's how we look at it, quantifying it. But it's opening up that pathway for 2.3 million New Yorkers to continue navigating through this system to try to live as free as they can, live as sovereign of a life in the community as they can.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions?
This is Celine from Sweet Brooklyn. I have a few questions. One, I know you guys say you do not work together with the DA's office, but you do, or you guys maybe work together. Maybe I didn't hear right. I don't know. Work together with the prison system in how they are educated and fully trained, but then in the real world can't get a job. So I'm wondering if you guys are doing any work with hiring systems who trickle down new laws if this legislation was to take effect as to how applications are to be worded moving forward. So I know oftentimes there's a question that says, have you ever been convicted of, maybe it's a misdemeanor, a felony, whatever the verbiage is, would you guys be working with employment systems to trickle down the information to strike that question from the record and make it more in line with new legislation stating something like, have you ever been convicted of XYZ within the past XYZ amount of time, according to whatever the legislation, the new legislation in the strike law is? That's like my one question. And then I have like another question when it comes in terms of the DA's office signing on and supporting your initiative. If they have all of the tools they have training wise, education wise, and if this legislation goes through, clearing their record, so at that point, reputation wise, what's the next step is kind of like, how do they come out with a little bit of a nest egg? Are you guys working with maybe some financial institutions, or I don't know, is there a conversation at hand when they're earning income to create, and maybe this is already in place, forgive my ignorance if it is, where they can formulate a system where maybe they're saving a little bit of a nest egg for when they are released from prison, and maybe are in a better financial situation, and therefore maybe can help them a little bit mentally and emotionally when they come out, where they're not kind of in that I don't know, I guess kind of lost kind of mentality, and they need to kind of feel like they need to do whatever they need to do, and kind of go back to the mentality of I need to do what I need to do to survive kind of situation. So that's probably like a 1, 2, 3, 4 step question. But I'm sorry, as you were saying it, the program sounds amazing, but as an employer, I see so many different little loopholes that employers who really don't want to employ these people can really take advantage of, and wondering if you guys have thought about it. And this is just me hearing this in 2 seconds. I'm sure you guys have gotten all these questions, but I guess just for my own, I'm just curious.
I'm gonna actually pass this to Emma because we had a really we was actually having a conversation around this with in relationship to human rights law. We were discussing clean slate further, and she could, it grinds her gears. So I'm gonna let her have the first stab at it. But I want to add something to that too as well, especially in regards to people earning time while in prison, or earning some type of finances while they're in prison as well.
And the applications, and how the information gets down to employers in regard to this new law, and how the verbiage makes its way down. That's kind of like the bigger one, I think. And then, yeah, just because that's part of the what you guys are talking about in real time.
Yeah, those are really great questions, and I like that you're thinking about what's going to happen after the law passes. So that's, making me feel positive about it. So there are in New York City, there are actually laws that say that question on a job application is illegal, but employers violate it all the time. So there's a law in New York City, and I think there's one in Westchester called the Ban the Box law, that says if somebody, if they ask a question, do you have a criminal record on a job application, that is an illegal question and employers can't ask it. That doesn't mean people follow it, but that is the law.
It's a New York City law too. You don't ask for the criminal background.
And then there's also there's a state law called the human rights law that actually allows people to go to court and sue if they have a sealed record and the sealed record is like used against them and they're denied a job based on that. And that's one of the things that's really important to us, and that's what Garrett's talking about, that we were talking about today. There are 2 different versions of the Clean Slate Act right now in Albany. There's the one that we really strongly support, which is the one that we put information about in the chat, which is the one that's sponsored by Senators Eleanor Myrie and Assemblymember Catalina Cruz. It's the legislature's version. That has what enforcement mechanisms, which is the ability for somebody to use, it amends the law so that if somebody's denied a job based on a sealed record, they can actually go to court and tell the employer, you can't deny me this job. That is really important, because without that, it's kind of like, well, you shouldn't have done it, but there's no way to actually tell the employer they did something wrong. There's no way to enforce it. The governor's version doesn't have that enforcement in there. So if the governor's version were passed, it would kind of be like a law that sounded really good, but what you're asking about, Celine, would keep happening because people would just keep discriminating against people based on their records, and there'd be no way for us as lawyers to stop it. And no way for employers to feel like they wouldn't even be breaking the law. It would be complicated. So that enforcement mechanism is really important. And that's definitely something that we're thinking about, because what's the point of passing a bill that seals people's records if it doesn't give them opportunities in the first place? So is someone, I hear somebody, but it's like kind of fuzzy. So I'm sorry if somebody's asking questions and I'm missing them. The other thing that you were asking about people having money when they get out is, I think Garrett will talk a little bit more to that. I mean, one thing that goes along with that is there's a movement in New York to actually get people paid some type of minimum wage when they're incarcerated. Right now, people make between 11 and 26 cents an hour normally, and are basically forced to work while they're incarcerated. And about 40% of that can be taken away for fines and fees from the court system. So it is a barbaric and horrible system where people are essentially being forced to work with no money to show for it when they get out. So there are a lot of kind of parallel movements that I think all of us are working on to try to change that, so that people actually, when they're working, they're getting paid for their work. And when they get out, they're not left with absolutely nothing, so that they can start to rebuild their lives.
I've got a quick question. This is Karen. In housing, let's say they come out, let's say they find a job, they want a room to rent, they want a place to live. How is this being enforced? Because it would mean that the fair housing laws would have to be amended once again to help that. Also, how do you handle people who have been sex offenders? Landlords, are, if they find out after they rent someplace that this person did this 12 years ago, what are we putting in place to really help this whole situation be really open, transparent to everyone, and again, enforceable?
I can speak to the sex offenses. So the Clean Slate Act, as it has been introduced, it would not actually seal sex offenses. Those are the one type of convictions that the the bill would not seal. As far as the other convictions are concerned, everyone has a certain waiting period during which time they have to stay basically out of the system. So they have to stay out of trouble for a certain number of years, for three years for misdemeanors and 7 years for felonies. And that time clock starts when you're released from incarceration. So, obviously sex offenses are not included, and during that time when you're staying out of trouble, we feel it is really important. Well, so the time clock is ticking, but at the end of those 3 or 7 years, if you've been able to stay out of trouble, then our feeling is that you should be able to really re-enter society. And as a part of that, the most important things that people need during that time is really access to stable jobs and stable housing. And so, yeah, those types of the sex offenses would not be sealed, but other types of convictions would be sealed, so that private employers, I mean, courts and law enforcement would still have access. We're talking about civil sealing. So, cops would still have access, the criminal court and the DAs would still have access. So if they were to get back into the criminal court system again, that, the court system would be able to see and, I guess, adjudicate accordingly. But once they're out of the system and have been trouble free or been out of trouble for a certain number of years, then their cases would be eligible for sealing.
Right, right, Sonny, and thanks for outlining that. And that just reminds us that we should have started with saying like, what's the actual eligibility? Who's eligible for relief under clean slate? Um, so I just want to break down this four-part criterion for clean slate. So it's one, they have completed their jail or prison time. Two, they have completed their parole or probation. So any community supervision that they're on. Three, which Sonny explained, is that the conviction to be cleared is not a sex offense. In the fourth, which Sonny also explained, is that they have no subsequent convictions during the waiting period or pending charges upon their sealing date. So with that being said, if a person is eligible and they get automatic sealing, which is supposed to remove that application-based process that's expensive and nobody actually gets it, right? So it removes that. It offers the automatic sealing. The sealing is a civil sealing. So what that means is that courts, DAs, law enforcement, and state agencies that's overseeing vulnerable populations will still have access to a person's records. The entities that we're talking about that will not have access, which makes it a civil sealing, is when you think about landlords, when you think about most private jobs that's not where you're working specifically with vulnerable populations, in education, higher education institutions as well. So like in that, and just think about as well as things similar to like life insurance. You'll be able to get life insurance. So like all of these type of things is what it opens up that helps the person improve their overall quality of life. And we look at it as the people that's already doing this work and that's already trying to make it. These are people that's making it in the community and they're not getting in trouble. They're not having these things happen to them like that. They're just trying to make it, but they're struggling because of the barriers, because of these paper handcuffs. So we look at it as, if you don't have to get limited to a slumlord because you can't get this apartment or you can't qualify for this loan for a house because of your conviction history, that barrier is now removed by clean slate. But let me just be frank too, clean slate is not a fix-all. So it's not going to fix everything within the system that's broken, but it's looking to fix this one aspect that hopefully can help people break generational curses, break these cycles for the next generation to be able to move forward. And then to also talk about Celine's point with prison, again, clean slate will not be able to affect towards that much because again, it's a bill for people that's actually living in the community, trying to make it in the community. But to that regard, we also work with the through Communities Not Cages. One of the bills is the Earned Time Act, which is supposed to help people. One, again, it's saying what it's going to do. It's helping them earn their time back, which knocks that off, and through them by them participating in restorative justice programs, which will also allow for those programs for job development, skill development to come in. And if we allow that, we're actual employers from the community can access that and help people that way, they can hire them on through that. So it's just ways we're trying to do it, but we just look at it as like we can't lump all of the things we want to change into one bill because that would get picked apart. It's like having a bunch of mini ships versus one huge ship. So that's our goal and our focus with it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Justice Roadmap, but that helps a lot with keeping that guide of like all of the things that we're looking to change within New York State to help New York State be inclusive for all New Yorkers and not just the few that's making over $75,000 a year.
So I had a question. Can you hear me? Oops, I feel like I was frozen. I had a question in regards to necessary opportunities, and looking at it from more so from a private sector standpoint, just because I know that that's some of the impact in terms of necessarily the folks that are going through this, especially when we talk about construction or those carpentry kind of jobs, looking at it from that stance. What are some of those, I guess, looking at it, how can we be helpful in that way when it comes to necessarily either moving the needle with persuading or necessarily helping you guys out, and helping those individuals in that sense. Just because looking at it, they're really not going to have that much access to it. Just case in point, like NYCHA, anyone that lives in NYCHA in Section 3, that means nothing in a construction world because you're not certified or you're not a part of a union. So I'm just trying to get a sense of what could we do from an economic development standpoint to be more helpful in that way. If you understand my point. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, economic development from that standpoint, I mean, our standpoint right now is all anti-poverty, because we look at it as Clean Slate is really addressing that issue with people that's stuck in perpetual punishment and stuck in poverty, and now that cycles onto their children, right? And that cycle just keep going. So from an economic development standpoint and from an anti-poverty standpoint, I think if you guys want to do a memo of support and to that regard, and just showing the impact that Clean Slate will have on the economy by allowing people to enter the workforce, or freeing people up to enter the workforce on their own accord, is what I think that would be a strong support there. We've been talking to unions and labor as well, to get their support on it. It's different organizations that's supporting it from that perspective. And I think if you guys want to sign on to do that as well, it would be a strong momentum push, because that's exactly where we're at with it, is letting people know, like, it's all about self-empowerment and economic development. So if you guys are trying to do that, that would be a huge help for us.
And then one thing that I actually, when you're thinking about kind of the long game and kind of educating people and giving people opportunities after the bill passes, so we could definitely use, look, another kid. We could definitely, mine's hiding in her high chair. She's small enough I can lock her in. We can definitely use memos of support right now, and just kind of support from every avenue that you're willing to offer it, and kind of talking to community members that you can get to listen about Clean Slate and why it's important. Kind of, we need to keep pushing. We think we're going to get it passed in the next couple of months, but we really need to keep pushing and have public support. And then but another thing that actually is kind of amazing about our coalition is how many people have joined on so far, and how broad ranging the support is. So there's a lot of support from labor already, and we're kind of building support there. But the Mason Tenders, SEIU, UAW, the Nurses Association Union, it's like all these unions have signed on to publicly support Clean Slate. And then JP Morgan Chase has signed on to support Clean Slate. So they're like private businesses that are signing on. So if you get involved in the coalition and get involved in the work, it may also kind of help to develop relationships with people that are like-minded, and you might be able to kind of help people in the community make those connections, and kind of strengthen those connections after the bill is passed, to kind of make sure it's working out for individuals as well. So we have the letters of support, but we also have coalition meetings every month. And if any of you want to come and you want to sign on to the coalition, you want to come join those coalition meetings and see who else is there, we'd really love to have you.
And one more thing too, we forgot to mention, we got a lot of things happening too. One more thing is, if you want to do a save the date, because we're having an expungement event on the 27th, which is a Sunday. It's 11 to 4. We're having it in the community, and what we're offering to people is free access to be able to get their rap sheets. So they will be able to get their fingerprints done through Identigo, where we cover the cost for that as well. Family's coming in. Hold on one second.
I just wanted to quickly add that Drew and Brian, we can send you a template memo of support. Please feel free to read it, and if you feel like you and your orgs might be able to sign on, that would be great. You can personalize it however you would like, but I could certainly send you the templates. But Garrett will get back to talking about the February 27th event.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. No, I'm not blurred. Hey, so the February 27th event, one of the things that we're trying to do for the community, and again, just showing the importance of record sealing. Emma's going to be on that. And thank you again for being on that with, for this and just talking about the importance of record sealing, but then also letting people know the long-term goal, which is, clean slate. Now, with that being said, one of the things that we want to offer to people is they could be able to go to an identical location and get their fingerprints done for free. We cover the cost for that, as well as the travel cost for that. So, like offering a Metro card for a person to be able to get there and get back. All these things, because that covers that first hurdle for them to be able to access the rap sheet. So get that part, and then we have the tools that and access and the people that they would need to connect with to really navigate that process, because that's one of the things we're trying to do for people. We know clean slate is a long-term goal, but people are struggling now. People are going through things now. So what can we do to help now? So those type of things are things that we're trying to do, just again, for the community. And this is something that's going to be at Brooklyn Commons on the 27th. The actual expungement piece of it will be from 2 to 4. But before that, at 11 to 12 is a clean slate press conference, just again highlighting the issue and trying to keep the pressure with getting this bill passed. But then from 12 to 2 is just community building. We're providing lunch on all Black-owned businesses. There's 3 Caribbean restaurants that we're utilizing as food vendors. Just again to recycle the dollar within the community. So that's the thought process with it. And really making it for the community, making it for the people. So anybody that anybody that want to come through and support it, please share it widely. We circulate the flyer to you guys, and if you could just share it and let people know about it, know that it's coming up, and ways they could come out and support.
Definitely will. I see you have a hand up, Lisa. You have a question?
Yeah, I was in and out. I just have a question. Is this for anyone that has like, are they just coming out of jail, or they already have a record and it's been maybe 5 to 6 years that they've been cleared?
So the Clean Slate Act is for people. It's for people that have been out for a while. So you have to have been out of jail for 3 years for a misdemeanor or 7 years for a felony. The event that Garrett's talking about on February 27th is for anybody that has a conviction, is trying to figure out what they can do about their conviction now. So I'm going to talk about all of the different laws that exist right now, and then people will be able to get copies of the rap sheets. They'll have to go somewhere and get a copy of the rap sheet, and then they can follow up with me or other lawyers to talk about whether we can help them now, rather than waiting for a clean slate.
Thank you.
One more question. I want to recognize Celine. I guess we can kind of wrap it up after this. One more question for Celine.
I have a question. I saw that Brooklyn Commons is I don't know if that's downtown Brooklyn or Carroll Garden. I don't know what town it is, but I know you guys said you wanted to support Black-owned businesses as far as, did I hear that right? Food and beverages, did I hear that right?
Yeah, so Garrett's really headlining that event, and that's really important to him. He's gonna be providing lunch, and he really wants to support Black-owned businesses and be providing food from. I don't know if he's chosen where, but that's something. If you want to connect with him about that, we can definitely. He just put his email in the chat, but that's important. An important part of the event for him.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering where you guys were getting your vendors, if they were going to be community based, if they were going to be community board based, zip code based. I was just curious how you guys were finding your Black owned vendors and how you were doing your outreach and making that selection between the abundant choices in Brooklyn to do so. So I guess I'll reach out to him to find out.
Yeah, reach out to him. And just so you know, a colleague of ours, sorry, my toddler's here now, Zaki Smith, who's from Bed-Stuy originally, is also involved in the planning and had some ideas about which businesses to reach out to. But he's from the community. Like he's from the Bed-Stuy community, and you've probably seen his end perpetual punishment mural on the side of the road. That's Zaki's, so he's part of our steering committee, and he's part of the planning process and is from Brooklyn. So I've like left it in his and Garrett's hands. But definitely reach out to Garrett if you have his ideas. I think he'd welcome them because he's not from Brooklyn, he's from upstate.
Okay, yeah, because one of my initiatives also is inclusivity, transparency, and unification of not only just neighborhoods, but of also of owners and initiatives, things like this, where we all want to get behind it and not really just limit it to who knows who, and how you guys really do a vetting process of the so many of our Black and brown establishments that really want to be a part of these initiatives and don't know how.
It's a great point, Celine. If there's any more questions, I just want to say thank you to Emma and Sunny for making this presentation. If you put your email in the chat, if anyone want to reach out to you as well, thank you. And also pass this on also to you have Mark on the line. You might want to use you or not use you, or maybe present to the public safety and bring before his committee as well. To kind of spread the word, and make sure you send an email to me and Drew as far as like support, and we welcome it. I just want to say thank you for taking the time out. I know everyone has their family and busy lives, and I respect everyone's time. So I want to say thank you, and I appreciate you. And if feel free to come back, Drew.
Hey,
Brian.
if
Yes.
you could just send me the flyer, so this way I could circulate that to everyone for that event.
Yep, I could email the flyer and the template memo support to Brian and Drew. I think I have both of your email addresses. Thank you so much for giving us most of the evening. We really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you.
Mark, did you have something? I'm sorry, Mark.
Yes, I have a question. In reference to these presentations, are you guys willing to do these presentations in person at certain locations where we have a lot of young people?
So, as part of the Legal Aid Society, right now, it is hard for us to do, because we're unionized and our union takes a certain stance on in-person activities right now. It is hard for us to do in-person activities at the moment. But we are, that may change very soon. So we've been doing basically most of our events virtually. I think the February 27th event may be in person. Part of it is in person and part of it is virtual. It's always changing. So maybe we can just kind of keep in touch. It would be really great to go out there in person and just meet face to face and talk to people instead of like on this Zoom screen, which is kind of what we do every single day, all day. But yeah, at the moment, I think we're trying to avoid sort of under our union, we're trying to avoid doing in-person events.
Okay, thank you. But we'll definitely follow up for something in the future, once everything opens back up.
Yeah, we used to do events. I used to do events out in neighborhoods like the ones that you're talking about. Especially, we have a close partnership with a lot of the Cure Violence sites all over New York City. But we would do events almost every week in person. So doing everything virtually has been a big change, but I would like to start doing them in person again. And I really think that all of you on this call are going to be really helpful, and we will welcome your advice about how to do public outreach after the bill passes to make sure people know what the bill says and what it does. Because that's going to be a big hurdle, is making sure people know what their rights are. So definitely we welcome your feedback about that, and hopefully it passes soon and we can work together on those things.
Awesome. Thank you guys, well, girls, and appreciate your time. And guess we'll go back to our normal economic development committee. Hear from Rob. If you have anything you want to say, and anybody else with any committee members. No, going once, going twice. Drew.
Yeah.
Good night. Good night.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you next month, and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Good night.
Ready.
Good night.